Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. Outside of Sunday, Tuesday is our favorite day of the week. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Brack. It's because we get ALLCITY's own NFL analyst, Brian Baldinger, on the program. Baldy, first off, we were talking off air, and you had kind of mentioned certain offenses around the NFL unwatchable. The Arizona Cardinals, after their play recently, I would not say they fall into that category.
No, I would never say that. And I haven't said it all year. Joshua Dobbs has been fantastic. And the good thing about a guy like Josh is, and really the quarterback position in general, is you never know what anybody can do until they get a chance to play. Like a real chance where you're not looking over your shoulder and you got a quick hook and like you had in Tennessee or Pittsburgh. I mean, you get a real chance to play. And you're seeing a skill set. I mean, that's an elite defense.
Yeah.
That you all saw last week. I mean, they're as good as anybody in this business. But if you're very quick, your decisions, you're able to extend plays when Bosa's like barreling through you and all that stuff. And you can come out of a 21-3 hole and get back in the game the way he got you back in the game last week. Like, have my hats off to Josh because he's playing the game the right way. And you could tell that he studies really hard. He really knows what he's doing. And he's a good leader. And I didn't know he had the mobility that he has, but it's really come in handy a bunch, especially last week.
We've seen him go up against some of the best defensive players on the planet. Micah Parsons one week, Nick Bosa the next week. And in the face of immense pressure, is it surprising to you to see him make such quick reads and make such accurate passes? I know there's some inaccuracies there overall, but what surprised you the most about Joshua Dobbs?
I guess just his ability just to execute, I mean, without having played a lot of football. Been in the league for quite a while, but hasn't played, for a guy that hasn't played much. And the way that he's playing right now, I was on a conference call with, not a conference call, I was on a podcast with Cincinnati, the Bengals today. And I said, don't you dare sleep on Joshua Dobbs. Like, he plays the game the right way. And those quick little dink and dunk passes, that's what you got to do to the 49ers. You just do, because Bosa's coming and, Drake Jackson is coming and, Javon Hargrave is just a bull. And so you got to get the ball out quick. Otherwise, you're going to get hit and you're going to have some bad plays. But if you can stay on schedule, take those 6-yard stick routes that they hit against those zones, like find the soft spot, whether it was to Ertz or whoever it was, like sometimes you just got to take what that defense gives you. You can't get greedy now. The double move to Michael Wilson was beautiful. The touchdowns to Wilson were beautiful. But in order to sustain the offense, and it was an unusual game because San Francisco only had 6 possessions. Now they scored 5 times, but you did as good as you could do to limit San Francisco and how many possessions they had.
So let's talk about Michael Wilson. Dobbs, 14 of 16 with a perfect passer rating when targeting the rookie out of Stanford. I know it's probably not fair, Baldy. We evaluate these guys way too early. He's played 4 NFL games. But, I mean, Cardinal fans, the Birdgang, most excited about a rookie wide receiver, I mean, since John Brown, maybe even like Larry Fitzgerald. What do you see with this kid? Because right now, as a novice, I'm watching this super aggressive play. His route running seems way above average for somebody as a rookie receiver.
I agree. Now, the knock on him was, he's not very fast. He's got size, but, he's kind of a possession guy, going to catch it and fall down. Well, we haven't seen that.
No.
We've seen a guy that, the double move on the outside against Ambry Thomas. Not everybody runs a good double move. Sometimes guys just sit there and wait for him to keep going. They stay on top of it. You can't even throw it. I saw a bunch of those just watching this weekend's games. But he got the kid to stutter, and he got behind him, and Josh threw a perfect pass. The corner route for the touchdown was a beautiful route. I mean, that's Talanoa Hufanga back there. He's a Pro Bowl safety. Like, he made the right cut on him, and he bought himself some real estate. That was impressive. I see a guy, like, some guys just know how to get open. They just know how to read zones. They know where to get cut, where to sit down, when to, stutter and go, when to change speeds. Like, I mean, it's early. He's got 14 catches, something like that. Like, it's early, but it seems like he's got a good feel for it. And like I said, you do that against San Francisco. It's one thing if you did it against a terrible defense. You go, okay, well, that's an elite defense. Now you can say, okay, Ambry Thomas, like, he's their 3rd or 4th corner. You could say that. Still an elite defense with really not a weakness anywhere. So I thought that was impressive.
As with 99-yard touchdown drive by this offense, backed up, they use the brotherly shove, the tush push, whatever you want to call it, just to get some room, Baldy.
Yeah.
And then they just go to work. What did you see from the play caller? What did you see from the execution, the splash plays, Drew Petzing, the entire offense on that drive?
Well, I don't think they got too fancy, to be honest with you. I mean, I think they just executed. They had one big play in there, which, got a big chunk. But for the most part, they just executed. And they took what the defense gave them. And look, when you're going up against Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, they're not going to give you any room. You're not going to have extra time. You got to catch it and get ready to get hit. And those guys are just missiles out there. They know exactly. They read the quarterback. They read the formations. It's the old linebacker thing. Know the formation, know the play. Well, they do. And Fred Warner is literally a computer in cleats. He knows where the ball's going. But if you can beat him with speed of decision making, and quick, accurate stick throws, you can beat him to the ball. And I thought they did that for a chunk and stayed in manageable situations, didn't get behind the sticks, and, were able to kind of march, going forward.
Baldy, flip it to the defensive side of the ball if we could. And, I think this unit's play admirable. They had a really nice showing against the Dallas Cowboys, holding that offense to just 16 points. Do you think it's as simple as with what we saw from San Francisco, specifically the run game, like Cardinals schematically, I think are very sound. Do they just not have the horses at defensive tackle right now, given where they're at with this rebuild?
Well, I didn't know who Ezekiel Turner was till last week. I mean, they just keep throwing new guys out there. I'm not trying to, claim my ignorance here, but I keep finding new guys on the roster that they're throwing out there. I keep waiting for Baker to show up, but that's, whatever. But, it's a credit. You got a rookie corner out there. I mean, look, the play the first touchdown that, McCaffrey scored on him, he jumped over him, but it was just, I don't know anybody that executes a screen like that. I don't know any team that can do that. Mm-hmm. You get in position down the field and pick guys off like that and give McCaffrey to the rookie corner, jumps over. I mean, but I just find that, look, it's 21-16 with a minute to go to the third quarter. They're right in there with the big boys, the undefeated. There's 2 undefeated teams in this league. They're hanging right there with the big boys. Now, whatever Jonathan's telling these guys, I've said it every week. They play hard. They don't get blown out ever. They're in these games. They got a chance to win these games. That's maybe the best offensive football they saw. And they didn't blink. They didn't fold their tent when it was 21-3. They didn't do any of that. And I just feel like you've got a real turnaround happening right in front of us right here. And it's fun to see because we love good stories. We love, it's kind of the team that's been kicked to the corner and oppressed and nobody pays any attention to them. But I feel like they've got more wins left in them.
I always remember the story from last preseason. You identified Chandler Wooten, a linebacker, undrafted from Auburn. He showed up. He flashed on a couple plays, Baldy, and everybody was in Johnny and my mentions. Why isn't Chandler Wooten playing? Why isn't he playing? Just because they take, obviously what you say is kind of the gospel for the most part as far as breaking down NFL film. Who's showing up? Who's the Chandler Wooten? Who's flashing, in your opinion, that's kind of under the radar for this Cardinals team, maybe offensively or defensively?
Well, I don't know if he's under the radar, but I mean, Kazir White's been outstanding.
Yeah.
That kid was I know him when he was at West Virginia. So I knew who he was. He got drafted by the Chargers. You're like, what is he? Is he a safety? Because he's not big. Is he a slot defender? Is he a box player? Is he a linebacker? Nobody really knew. Then he got hurt right away. And so, he kind of they kept shuffling the deck in with the Chargers. He comes to Philly, starts an inside linebacker. When they played a lot of dime defense. So when he was out there, he was productive. I feel like he's Jonathan's putting him in the middle here. And he's kind of I always look at the middle linebacker in a 4-man front and say, okay, who's calling the signals? Who's getting everybody lined up? Who's taking charge? And to me, Kazir looks like he's that guy. And even Kevon Wallace, I think he was a 4th-round pick out of Clemson by Philly, and he never really got on the field. He just didn't. They had Marcus Epps. They had all these guys, Rodney McLeod. They had all these veterans. And Philly really rarely got a chance to play. And so nobody really knew what he could do. And now he's getting a chance to play in a scheme that he's familiar with. And he seems to be doing pretty good right now. Whereas in Philly, they just said, he can't play because they just didn't see him do anything. But I'm watching these kids get a chance to play, and they look like they're enjoying getting that opportunity to play.
Baldy, we talked about it last week. I think it becomes more and more relevant with each passing week. The Cardinals haven't turned the ball over in 3 games. And Josh Dobbs, super efficient, may not put up the flashiest numbers, but I mean, his showing against San Francisco, albeit in the loss, I thought was exceptional. Mm-hmm. How do they weigh the play of Dobbs? You know, what if he goes out there and performs even better against Cincinnati? And then simultaneously trying to integrate Kyler Murray for the first time this offseason. Didn't get a training camp, didn't get a preseason, hasn't played under center before. And then they're just going to insert him into the lineup at some point. Like, this is a very interesting and potentially difficult situation for them to have to tailor kind of on the fly.
It is. Sometimes you have to wait until that time gets here. Like, to my knowledge, he's not practicing right now. He's not, game planning like that. He's not doing that. So you kind of, sometimes these things just play itself out. Something happens to Josh. He goes through a bad stretch, turnovers, gets nicked up, whatever, and things open. So sometimes you just got to play it out. But if he keeps playing at the level that he's playing right now, I would not just make the switch just because one guy was, the number 1 pick in the draft. I don't care. Baker was the number 1 pick in the draft too. A lot of guys were number 1 pick in the draft or number 2. Like, you play the guy, you play your hot hand. You play the guy. I think Josh has asserted himself. Like, I don't think he's a real boisterous guy. Yeah. But I think he's asserted himself inside that room that he's a leader. I'll bet he spends the entire day Tuesday on his day off getting ready for the game plan. I'm just guessing he does. I bet he's heavily involved, with the play calling and what goes on that sheet. So you just can't, you just don't replace leadership just because a guy is talented. And I'm not saying that he can't do that. Right. That he's not, that I think he has to do that, going forward. But I just think it's not fair to the team if Josh is becoming the leader of this team that you just take him out and put the new guy in. We'll see how it plays out. But if the guy's taking care of the football and he's keeping in these games, and he's making these throws, and he's making these plays, and he's building a connection with Michael Wilson right now, whatever, like I would keep riding the hand. I know the record is the record, but they've had a chance to win all these games. So I think that's important.
Does it sound like it feels like it's a good problem to have at the end of the day? I mean, when you look at it though, if Joshua Dobbs has kind of really bucked what people thought about him and created a new narrative around him, and obviously people know some things about Josh Dobbs to this point that they didn't know before. But if they do ride this hot hand, and Kyler Murray, like, when is the right time to put Kyler Murray back in there? Because don't you feel like you have to find something out about Kyler Murray?
Well, you got to see, first of all, he's not going to know how good he is. Kyler's not going to know until he gets hit. Like, that's just everybody that comes back from an ACL tear. Like, you're not going to know. You can do all the machine testing and all that stuff. I'm 100% until the fact is, everybody that tears their ACL, when you come back, it's a new knee. It never looks the same. It never feels the same. It's going to feel different. You got to get used to it. So you don't know. And some guys come back quickly and they're fine and they never look back. And some guys, they got to have that brace on. They got to feel protected. It takes a while. It takes 2 years, to come back. Everybody's different. So you don't know any of that. But, you also got to say, okay, practice is important. You don't get enough practice time as it is to begin with. So the practice part to me is the most important. Are you going to take reps or all the reps away from Josh if he's your starter to get Kyler ready? Like, that's a conundrum right there. Now, that's a Jonathan Gannon problem if it gets to that. But you can only really get one quarterback ready per week, especially a guy that hasn't played in almost a year now.
So my last question for you, Baldy, as we look ahead to this weekend, the Cardinals host the Cincinnati Bengals. They are almost a pick'em game for the first time this year. Haven't been favored in any game. I mean, we talked about it off air. The Bengals offense right now, historically bad pace, whereas the Cardinals very competitive through the first month of the season. What do the Cardinals need to do to lock up their second win of the week, or of the month, I should say, under JG and company against Cincinnati?
Well, I've watched every snap that Joe Burrow's had over the last 2 weeks, and he literally it's a Statue of Liberty offense. Like, he doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't play action pass. He doesn't line up under center. Like, they're very limited. They can't get the ball down the field because the line hasn't been good enough. Like, if I'm Jonathan Gannon, I'm looking at some of those Tennessee blitzes. Not that they had a blitz a lot, but they hit him a lot, and they affected him a lot. And Jamar Chase and all the receivers are visibly frustrated. Like, I want to keep those. If I'm Gannon, I'm like, just watch the body language these guys walk on and off the field. This isn't the Bengals team that went, to the brink of winning a Super Bowl 2 years ago. They look vastly broken at this point. And so if I'm Jonathan Gannon, I want to keep that going. I want to come with some blitzes that they haven't seen yet on film that they've practiced, and I want to hit them. I'm not saying I want to hit the blitzes.
Right.
I'm not. You get after Joe Burrow. Make him move. Make him get rid of the ball quickly. He's not getting away from you. He's not running away. He's not going to spin to elude the pressure. He's going to sit there and take it and get rid of the ball quickly or throw it to the sidelines. And I would test him really early to see if that calf looks as bad as it has the last 2 weeks.
This is not a get-right game opportunity for the Bengals, right?
No, they need a win. Like, everybody needs a win. They want to stop the losing. It's been ugly 2 weeks in a row. It's been ugly all season. So they need a win just to feel good about themselves. They've got a lot of talent on defense, but they gave up a lot of big plays last week to Tennessee. They gave up big runs to Derrick Henry. They give big pass plays. Uncharacteristically, they gave up big plays, but they're talented. They got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. Trey Hendrickson, Logan Wilson, DJ Reader. They've got some great football players on that side of the ball. But you want them to be on the field a lot because they've had to be on the field a lot over the last through the first month of the season.
He's the best. He joins us every Tuesday at this time. All-City NFL analyst Baldy, Brian Baldinger. Thank you so much for jumping on, our guy. Hopefully we're talking about a dub this time next week.
Well, you've been close, and you got the one against Dallas. I mean, you play like you did against Dallas, you shut down the red zone like that, you're going to get more wins. That's for sure.
Thanks, Baldy. Talk to you next week.
Next week. You got it.
Answer the chat here. Free Matter for the Blind. Joke or laughing at my face here. I'm trying to just survive here in studio. We got PHNX D-backs out here hooting and hollering, and I can barely hear myself think. That's what's going on. I'm not disagreeing or agreeing. I don't even know what you guys talked about for the last 10 minutes of that segment. I'm going to have to rewatch Baldy just to see what he said.
I mean, I'll be crass. The Diamondbacks are losing. We're winning on this podcast with Brian Baldinger. That's as blunt as I can put it here. Because that's the best 15 minutes of Cardinal coverage you're going to get anywhere. Speaking of Cards coverage, this is your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast, hooking you up with our friends at BetMGM. BetMGM, bet 10, get 200. If you came out to BetMGM last weekend, thank you so much, by the way. Jersey Cardinals, friend of the program, taking home 2 tickets to Bengals Cardinals this weekend. We're going to be back at BetMGM in just a short period of time. But in the meantime, if you haven't done so already, download the BetMGM Sportsbook app or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up with that code PHNX. You can dabble a little bit. If you want to take the D-backs money line, I don't know if I would advise that, but you probably get pretty good plus money right now, live in-game betting with our friends at BetMGM. Again, it's your first BetMGM Sportsbook walkthrough. Check them out, mobile device, or at www.betmgm.com. PHNX, $10 deposit, 200 bones instantly, no matter the wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to our guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Yeah, with playoff baseball, obviously you're going to need to chill a little bit. OGs is going to put you in the right mindset, maybe take the edge off a little bit, or whatever experience you're looking for from your gummy. OGs is going to have it for you. Check out their full product line, ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com. You can figure out, if you like the cream flavors better or you like the fruit flavors better, or you can just say, hey, I like best of both worlds. So I'm going to get those multi-flavor bags, get them at the 100 milligram size bags. Check them out. The fruits, of course, the red apple, the watermelon, you got the creams, you got the blackberries, the cream, the orange creamsicle, and the peaches and cream, all Hall of Fame flavors, all made by OG's Brands. Of course, Arizona's favorite cannabis kitchen. You can find them in your local dispensary. And you got to be 21 years or older. Make sure you're following them on socials as well at OG's Brands. We love OG's. Find them at that dispensary. Get after it. And find out why PHNX is so pumped to be partnered with OG's Brands.
Can't beat OG's. Can't beat Baldy. You know, a lot of good insight from Baldy. And I think, listen, he comes from an NFL locker room. He knows how players and coaches think. The most interesting dynamic right now, and again, we could fumble all over this. Josh Dobbs could look terrible Sunday. I hope not, but it could potentially happen. How they're going to operate when Baldy says, if you're QB1, you need all the reps that week of practice. Well, and we talked about it yesterday. Whenever Kyler Murray's activated, like, he needs all the reps.
Yeah.
So you've got to be certain that with all the reps, he's going to be ready to play subsequently for that given Sunday. I have no idea how they're going to do this. No idea. I was more confident when you're just throwing out Colt McCoy and just seeing what sticks, or Clayton Tune's out there dabbling around. You got a quarterback right now, hasn't turned the ball over in 3 games.
You're never more confident with Colt McCoy. Let's be honest here. I mean,
well, that's what I meant. It's just like, do it, get him out there. Yeah. Let's go. Let's get K1. I don't know how they fix this, because right now, and fix it meaning it's a good problem to have. You've outlined that, but you go through the season, and I've made this point previously, so I'll toot my own horn. If they get through October with Joshua Dobbs, right? We hope Kyler Murray's back this month. We're knocking on wood that happens. That's 8 weeks with a starting quarterback in games that's going to be still around on the team. And while the leadership factor is important, it's also like, look at the guy in the huddle that has led you. What if they win like 2 or 3 more games? I know. What if they go like 3-1 in October? I'm going to predict that they win this game against Cincinnati this weekend, and then it's going to be fucking go time. At 2-3. It's go time. It's not season over like our friends at CHGO. So Kyler Murray is better than Joshua Dobbs. But Kyler Murray off an ACL and a brand new offense inserted in the season on the fly, that's difficult for any team to handle, not just the Cardinals.
Yeah, was it 41 days since the last Bears win? It's been tough sledding for our friends over at CH. Oh my God,
that's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. But, Gannon, Petzing, I don't know if that's just them putting on a brave face up there, fielding our questions, but they feel fairly confident with just the way that their practices are set up, and 1s going versus 2s and 2s going versus 1s, and putting the scout team in there, that there's going to be enough opportunity to both get Joshua Dobbs prepared for however many weeks he's going to be the starting quarterback, with Kyler Murray activated or returned to practice off the pup. And we're still waiting to see when that happens. But it feels like they have a plan in place when that's coming. They're not just going to go by the seat of their pants, and they're confident. So, like a lot of things surrounding this team going into this season, like, you don't know how they're going to get to it, but you're confident in the decision makers to put themselves in a rock solid situation to where they're not going to handicap themselves at all as far as their preparation for that game, just to benefit Kyler Murray.
Jalen Blair, $10 super chat. So generous, Jalen, friend of the program. This whole conversation speaks to how we treat Kyler here in Arizona. If this was Herbert, Burrow, Lamar, it wouldn't matter how good the backup was playing. Once the starter is ready, he plays. Well, I mean, Lamar's won an MVP and Burrow's been to a Super Bowl and been to the postseason twice. Herbert's very, very comparable. But again, like, Herbert's not hurt either. I think, again, different regime, new contract, like minimal ties to Kyler Murray. If anything, that plays a factor in it. Like, I want Kyler Murray to play for this team. This is not my own opinion that you should just leave Dobbs in there the rest of the year. I think that's ridiculous.
I think that's a great point by Jalen Blair. I really do. If those guys, like when Burrow was a rookie coming off his rookie season, his ACL tear. I mean, there was no expectations for that team. Mm-hmm. And we got to get Joe Burrow back on the field as quick as possible. There was no conversations. I think was it Driscoll at the time that was maybe the alternative. Yeah, big time yikes. But I mean, that's a damn good point. I mean, that there wouldn't be anybody hooting and hollering like, oh, well, if this guy's playing well, let's hold back Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow.
Yeah, again, like part of it though is this regime, they traded for Joshua Dobbs, albeit to be a backup. And if Joshua Dobbs, let's just say goes 2-2 in October, let's say he plays all of October, and the Cardinals at the end of the month are 4-5 or whatever it would be, 3-5, and he's playing mistake-free football for the most part, and Kyler Murray's ready to go in November, you go to Kyler Murray. Is that what you're saying?
I think what I'm saying is this is the franchise quarterback, and what the leadership of this organization has maintained for a while now, this was even before Joshua Dobbs was in the building, was that when Kyler Murray's ready 100% mentally and physically, he's going to be out there on the football field. He's going to be back out there. Monty Ossenfort said, we're not going to hesitate to do that. And, you know, at the same token, like if the Cardinals lose to Cincinnati and drop to 1-4, and Kyler Murray is returned from PUP and opens up his practice window and then gets ready to play, let's say,
a different conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's not turning into wins. So what's the point of, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. It's what's going on behind me. Yeah. I mean, what
Did
happened?
they hit a grand slam? Did they hit a grand slam or something?
I have no idea.
No, there's still
Corbin Carroll 2-run shot.
Okay. If you put Kyler Murray out there, if you've got one win under your belt, I don't care how well he's playing. I just don't.
Yeah. And again, I agree with the point always that this team can't not play Kyler Murray for a large portion of this year and then decide on his future. Because, like, again, you know what Dobbs is, right? He's better than you thought. There's no way they could have anticipated him playing this well, but he's not a franchise quarterback. Whereas Kyler Murray, of course, has the ceiling of a franchise quarterback. He is somebody right now that at the end of the day, they have to make a decision about his contract, Bo. Like, they can either opt to move off of him before February, or they can decide he's our guy. We're going to know at the end of the year. Like, I think we'll have a really good idea come January that, hey, guess what? This team is going to move forward with Kyler Murray, or hey, guess what? We're keeping our options open going toward April. And there's no way you can decide on that until you play him. So I think it's tough because we want to watch good football this fall. We see Josh Dobbs, how hard he's working. You know, Baldy attests to it. But then at the same time, it's like for the big picture of the team. And this season's about big picture. And that's what I'll come back to, Bo. You've made that point time and time again. Playing Kyler Murray to decide how, when he fits in this offense is for the betterment of the Cardinals, not only for this year, but 2024, 2025. Because at the end of the day, like, you've seen quarterbacks like Russell Wilson go to other franchises, play for other offensive coordinators, play for other head coaches, and it not work. So they have to be 100% convinced, even though they like what they see on tape, we love it, that he can play in this offense. I think he can, but we got to have real tangible proof for 8 to 10 games. And I'm going to be fired up to see him play, but I'm still not going to budge off the notion that it's very difficult. It's a very difficult situation to navigate. Unless, to Baldy's point, Dobbs fumbles, stumbles, and the Cardinals, are waving the white flag, come save us, Kyler Murray. But I watch Joshua Dobbs every Sunday. It's like, he's getting better. He's getting better every week.
Look, he's getting better. He's just not a franchise quarterback, right?
Right.
We can agree with that. And what Gannon has seen, Kyler Murray play firsthand. He was the starter for the Cardinals going against the Philadelphia Eagles. He's prepared for Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray does next level things that Joshua Dobbs is just not capable of doing. And I think that gets lost in the argument just because what we've seen and what we've liked from Josh Dobbs. I think that sometimes just gets discounted far too often, but there is some very real conversation and debate to where you can say, like, okay, well, can you just can you wait? Can you be patient? Can you continue to just operate in as precautious as possible, just because Joshua Dobbs has given you that ability to do so, that luxury to do so?
It's going to be a talking point until it happens. Joel, thank you so much for 99 Super Chat. Isn't it fair to say that K1 style of play compared to Dobbs changes the offense and would change Petzine's play calling and rhythm. I think we don't know that until it happens, Bo. I mean,
Petzing
he has not
answered
played under
that
center
question
before.
today. I mean, Petzing answered that question today. I mean, he
Okay.
basically said, what it's going to come down to, obviously, is a collaboration between him and Kyler Murray, and he's gonna figure out, what he likes and what he does well. And they're going to look at, how the offense is operating right now with Joshua Dobbs as the quarterback. And then they're going to take because Kyler Murray has the ability to be in all the meetings right now. He's not missing anything as far as the mental side of this. And then there's going to be some conversation as far as what he likes about what they're currently doing and what they can continue to do and what he thinks he's capable of doing that Joshua Dobbs has done so well at the quarterback position. And then there's some things that Drew Petzing is going to be like, hey, I think that you can do, like, you would excel at doing this. Let's see how you operate in doing that. So there's just a collaboration between him and his play caller in the quarterback room. And obviously the playmakers, there's going to be an adjustment for them as well, going from Joshua Dobbs to Kyler Murray.
Yeah, agreed. But I'm anxious to see him under center. I've never seen him under center outside of save for like a couple instances under Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, like when they're kneeling the ball at the end of the game, that's when Kyler Murray was under center in an NFL offense. So it's fascinating. A lot of good stuff in the chat. You guys are crushing it. Do us a favor, hit that like button here on PHNX Cardinals. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. Banner day here in Arizona sports as the Diamondbacks clearly are making some noise here. We're making some noise with our friends from Circle K, Brock. It's America's thirst stop. I stopped off at Circle K after my weekend at BetMGM on Sunday. I had no gas. I went to Circle K. I filled up. Couldn't believe how much money I saved. 25 cents per gallon on my first 5 fill-ups. I went inside, of course, doubled down, Polar Pop, unsweetened iced tea for your boy. Got a couple snacks, and they were delicious. I ate them in my car, responsibly. I'm part of the Inner Circle Club. So every single time I go to Circle K, I'm saving money. And PHNX, we're here to save you money. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Now, terms and conditions apply at participating locations, but visit CircleK.com for more details.
You also got to get in on the deal that continues to go, 50% off 2 or more pairs of premium polarized sunglasses from ShadyRays.com by using that promo code PHNX. You get 50% off 2 or more pairs of premium polarized sunglasses from Shady Rays. Check out the independent sunglasses company, world-class product. Of course, they've got the awesome, insane protection for all their eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses backed by their lost and broken replacements. You lose, you break a pair, they're going to replace them. No questions asked. Long after your purchase, check out Shady Rays, of course, Kierland Commons up there in North Scottsdale. You can just go tell them the promo code PHNX, or you can go online, ShadyRays.com. Just shop their full line of products, ShadyRays.com, promo code PHNX for 50% off 2 or more pairs polarized sunglasses.
You talked to Baldy today, or Baldy, Drew Petzing as well. You talked to everybody today. And obviously got some takeaways on what's going on with Michael Wilson. And I do think that, the takeaway right now from the fan base is we've got a potential superstar in our hands, or at least a staple of this offense. Did you get a read on Petzing, maybe tempering expectations with Michael Wilson, or is it they are unleashing him after the first 2 weeks of the season, which were modest compared to the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, he probably, I would say, he was tempering those expectations a little bit in how he was able to find some open spots against the Niners coverage and was able to take advantage of it. And I think he wants to, give that benefit of the doubt to the full complement of the Arizona Cardinals receivers that it could happen with any of those guys. But Michael Wilson, you can't deny the progress. And I don't think that Drew Petzing is going to deny that either, as far as where they got him. Scouting him in the Senior Bowl to drafting him in the 3rd round, 96th overall, to getting him, in the facility to now. I don't think anybody can deny that. I mean, what you've seen from 14 so far has been fantastic. And I think Drew Petzing is just, he's probably pretty excited that he's just got that skill set at his disposal to couple with, Hollywood Brown and James Conner and Joshua Dobbs, the rest of this offense that's playing so well right now.
Love this from T-Dactyl. Wilson could be Bolden 2.0, man. Physicality is what stands out to me. And we've had John Brown here, 1,000-yard receiver season. Christian Kirk, 1,000-yard receiver season. Never had the physicality of somebody like Michael Wilson. And then just the intermediate passing game opens up with him. So I thought to myself, Bo Brock, okay, the receiver class, at least in the first round, has not been elite, right? Quentin Johnson, our boy from TCU, kind of having a meh year.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great year for early receivers. So I said, how does Michael Wilson stack up to the other receivers in his class? And if he continues on this trajectory, especially with K1 potentially coming back, getting him the football, could he make a run at Offensive Rookie of the Year? I want to bring up the rookie receiving leaders through week 4 of the NFL season. Michael Wilson sits 6th, but I want to remind everybody, the first week was basically a wash, minimal targets. He really has opened up the last 2 weeks leading the team. So he is ascending. But I mean, this kid from Los Angeles, Bo, he's their number 1 receiver right now because Cooper Kupp's not playing. I'm tempering everybody's expectations, but at the same time, if I had to buy stock on this list, I would buy Michael Wilson over Mims. I would buy it over Laporta. I don't think as good as Laporta's been, he's going to have more receiving yards than a wideout. Flowers is hit or miss. Dell is for real. But Michael Wilson, to me, I think he's got a good shot at least to be on the all-rookie team at the end of the year.
I mean, it's just outside of what you pointed out with the couple of the higher end receivers drafted this year, like you're seeing all these. I mean, it's going to be a tough class to crack. I mean, as far as the first team or second team all-rookie, but it doesn't stop Michael Wilson from having a really rock solid season and continuing what he's doing. I mean, if he flies under the radar, but he emerges for the Arizona Cardinals, still a win for Monty Osborne and crew to know that 14 is somebody that they're going to build around or move forward with this organization. And the guy that's basically a 4th round pick they got, and he's going to be a starting wide receiver for them. That's going to be 1,000-yard receiver, probably going to approach 8 to 10 touchdowns a season. I mean, that's a huge dub. And I think maybe long term, looking at those guys, and it might be short-lived as far as their success and in their ability to match consistent success, which I think Michael Wilson is set up for as far as his size, his route running ability, his full skill set, I think projects a lot better than a lot of those guys.
Like this comment from Jose, Wilson is good as long as he gets opportunities, 7+ targets a game. He'll do well as long as he gets playing time. I think that was the problem the first week. All those targets went to, respectfully, Zach Ertz. I mean, what did he do on Sunday? Michael Wilson caught every ball thrown at him on Sunday. I mean, like that. It's a good problem to have right now.
Basically, every ball has been thrown his way. I mean,
14 and 16 on the year.
Yeah,
I mean, he's incredibly physical. I think the yards are going to be immense over time. But man, when you get high-end quarterback play, like Dobbs is good. If you can get back to franchise level quarterback play, I think his touchdowns are going to come in bunches because he's so big. Red zone threat, like that red zone touchdown. Where was the problem with the offense last year, respectfully, especially when D-Hop went out? It was the red zone, right? They're one of the worst red zone teams in the NFL. Respectfully, why? Well, Hollywood's a little smaller. Rondale Moore's undersized. They've had a tendency to go with these smaller players. That does not lend itself well to the red zone. Their efficiency outside of Hopkins and James Conner in the red zone during Cliff Kingsbury was just a big goose egg outside of Kyler Murray running it in. Now you've got this kid who 6'3", great hands, can win one-on-one battles, can go up for the jump ball. I think when Kyler Murray returns, and assuming this team somehow, some way gets franchise quarterback level play in 2024, I think his ceiling is like 13, 14 touchdowns. I think he can be one of those guys because 17 games over the season, the amount of targets he's going to get, he just looks like every middle round or mid to late round receiver that hits for the big time teams, like an Adam Thielen, a Devontae Adams in the second round, a Michael Thomas. He fits kind of that build, and it's just the antithesis of what this team has done in the past. Like, I like Hollywood Brown. They traded a first for him. Like, at the end of the day, you redo that trade, you take Lindenbaum, probably, right? Mm-hmm. Andy Isabella over DK Metcalf. Egregious decision, right? Christian Kirk doesn't get a new contract here, is allowed to leave. John Brown has a shelf life. This kid, for whatever reason, checks all the boxes of saying, like, he's going to be good and he's going to get paid here. And it's going to be somebody that you can look back on as like, okay, the beginning to middle portion of the Gannon era, number 1 or number 2 receiver, Michael Wilson. That's a good feeling to have.
Right. And he's super smart. I mean, He went to Stanford and he jokes about it, how Joshua Dobbs wanted to be a Stanford man himself and he wasn't, didn't have it, the intellect. Right. Yeah. his ability to play multiple positions, 3 positions as far as the wide receiver route trees go. And, that's just going to even benefit him more down the road with his size, his physicality, and his ability to run all those routes and be a weapon and a threat in the red zone. Like I think he could legitimately, like, the big body, it always plays, but when you can match it with the athleticism, it's just going to be, it really is a rock solid pick. And they took a chance on him because of his medicals from college. But as we've pointed out multiple times, there was like a collarbone here, it was breaks here, it wasn't ligament issues. He's just good to go. And if he can kind of keep himself out of the training room, I don't see any reason that his ability to get better gets stunted at any point.
17 yards per catch through 4 games.
I mean, I'm hesitating, but like throwing a name around like an AJ Brown, I don't think that's that far off. AJ Brown, a former 2nd round pick out of Ole Miss.
Yeah. I mean, his after the catch ability is elite. Like his yak ability, Michael would have to get to that point. But like somebody said Adam Thielen to me the other day, and Thielen's a little slider. I mean, that's Adam Thielen is an elite route runner. Like he put on clinics during Minnesota.
He was always filthy in the red zone. And
it's like that. I think that like a combination of that and a little bit of maybe AJ Brown. I mean, this Cardinals are so effing due to hit on a receiver. It's crazy. Now let's go to the flip side, Brack, because Michael Wilson was at the end of day 3. And it was a tough day during the NFL draft for your boy. And I've been proven wrong, eating all the crow. Now, the pick that started that day was 2nd rounder BJ Ojulari, Brack, who has been, let's just call it hampered because of an injury that took place in the offseason, a cleanup surgery, and has set him back. And I know you talked to Nick Rowles today, and he said nothing but glowing things about the former LSU product.
Yeah, this is the clip we have from Rowles, just kind of breaking down, BJ Ojulari, who only played 5 snaps on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a lot to improve. BJ he's still a rookie that didn't get a lot of snaps early on in training camp, so his development, I think, is really going to still continue to take off and increase over the course of the season. But that is a deep room, and like we talk about, everyone that has a jersey is going to play in that room, anybody up front, D-line and outside backers. So, the flow of the game can determine a little bit how the reps go. But yeah, I think he'll continue to improve throughout the year.
And there at the end of that clip, I think what you were saying yesterday,
yes,
they just weren't in a position to primarily a pass rusher, right? A pass rush specialist.
Yeah, because the 49ers never faced a legitimate 3rd down outside of one drive, right? Dennis Gardeck had a sack, but I mean, like right now, BJ Ojulari probably can't play the run very well. I don't know that, but I'm guessing like they're going to go with some guys who've been in the program, Victor Dumakaji guys, a little bit more developed to help alleviate some of that edge. Whereas BJ Ojulari is there to rush the passer. I'll go on a limb right now. He's going to have a sack this weekend against the Bengals. He's gonna sack Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, they're giving up at least 3 sacks per game. Their offensive line is a sieve. It's terrible. It's a garbage tire fire. BJ Ojulari is going to have a sack this weekend. Because again, Bengals can't move the ball. It's one of the worst offenses in the NFL. It might be the worst.
Yeah.
San Francisco, it's sickening, but they are so efficient on early downs. There's no wasted downs. The Cardinals, to beat San Francisco, they need like an overhaul. We talked about this at defensive tackle. They can't stop the run. So BJ Ojulari can't pin his ears back and be able to contribute on 3rd down when there's no 3rd down to be had. So I saw that and I'm like, I'm not going to overreact to 5 snaps because he was ascending. And I also think like BJ Ojulari right now is in a loaded position group with not like elite players, but got grinders, right? Dennis Gardeck, I'm going to stop doubting that guy. Zaven Collins is back and, looked okay on Sunday, but he's a high-end pick. He's much more physically developed right now. As much as like I hate to say it, like it almost feels like with BJ Ojulari, I think he'll get more opportunities later on this season. It feels like a true kind of on-the-fly learning redshirt year. Like Marcus Golden was a great draft pick for this franchise. Does anybody remember what he did during his rookie season? Not very much, right? It feels almost like that this year. Get him in your program this entire offseason, make him a faux starter, revamp his body, and then turn him loose next year. When you miss that much of camp and you're coming back from injury, it's why we have to put realistic expectations on Garrett Williams. Like, it's hard. Whereas Michael Wilson and Paris Johnson Jr., Bo, what has it been since day one? They have been proving themselves and developing since fucking April. They've been in with the starters, mixing it up. Well, it's 6 months later. They look awesome. So again, I see some people like, oh, we should have taken this player, Avila from TCU. No, it's just give it time. I'm not going to judge a rookie after 4 weeks.
It's still a premier position, but it's, especially when you're trying to work in and in such a deep rotation. Paris Johnson Jr. plays a position that you're on the field 100% of the snaps. If you're a starter, You're a starter, and you're out there the entire time. And with Michael Wilson, the route he runs in the position he plays, as far as the wideouts go, he's on the field, close to 70% of every game. To where, every single person a part of that front seven, from the interior defensive line to the outside linebackers, they're rotating in and out. And you're lucky to see 50% of the snaps. I mean, that's on the high end for these guys. So in order to get in there and crack it and get consistent playing time and to get acclimated, it's a little bit more of a process. I hate that you threw Garrett Williams in there. Maybe it's just because I'm more hopeful, but and we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's, I would bet it's a coin flip if Garrett Williams gets, returned from non-football injury come tomorrow. Looking at the roster moves, what they've done so far, they elevated safety from the practice squad today in Joe Blunt. He's now on the team. And then you've got 2 spots now open after you got rid of Nolan Cooney, the punter, in place of another punter who's got experience with the San Francisco 49ers. You bring in Blake Gillikin is now your new Arizona Cardinals punter, but you activated, or you brought up Joey Blunt to play safety. So now there's like this dire need to add another defensive back.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what we anticipated. And like, you activate Garrett Williams, like, I don't know if that's realistic to just say go play Sunday either. Like, again, because of where he's at on NFI, Kyler's on PUP. Kyler's not on the active roster for 3 weeks. It's all just like you're walking a tightrope, right? But the difference is like Cardinals outside of Keitrell Clark, they're struggling at cornerback right now. Like Marco Wilson, I saw something today. I think it was Kyle Odegaard posted 120 passer rating for Marco Wilson. Whereas like, Dobbs, he's not Kyler Murray, but he's not fucking Zach Wilson either. Like he can be competent, and there's only one of them. Cardinals need some cornerback help, and they need some pass rush help too. Like, those are 2 rookies, Ojulari and Garrett Williams. Like, those were your 2 guys right after Paris Johnson Jr. You traded up for Paris. You gave up, pick 33? Those were the next 2 in line. They got to be contributors at some point. It may not be early this year. I want to talk to you, Bo Brack, because our friend Jordan Schultz put out something interesting that kind of led to some speculation on Twitter. I got a DM about it. I want to talk to you about it. But first, I want to talk to everybody about our friends at Foco. Foco, the elite manufacturer of sports and entertainment, with a product line that includes apparels, accessories, toys, collectibles. Love my JJ Watt bobblehead, novelty items, and more. Best officially licensed gear for all fandoms of pro teams, college teams, whatever you want. Check them out. Foco's got your back, and Arizona's back. It's great. Check them out. www.foco.com. Use that bonus code PHNX for all non-presale items. You're going to get 10% off. They've got decor. They've got jackets. They've got shirts. So much cool stuff that you can't get at, these retail stores. It's an online retailer that fits you as an Arizona fan. Again, foco.com, promo code PHNX.
We're having a blast hanging with our friends over at Splash Sports this NFL season. PHNX has that weekly Pick X and NFL Survivor contest for everyone to participate in. Real money that you can win, that you can put in your pocket. Head to splashsports.com/PHNX. We'll have a link in our description here on the YouTube page. Deposit cash, get started. It's just $5 to enter and get going as far as PHNX weekly NFL Pick X contest and PHNX Survivor contest. The more who enter, the larger the prizes. So that sweet, sweet cash, it gets even larger each and every week. We'll be running weekly contests all year. Make sure you keep with that link handy and want to run your own contest. You can absolutely do that at splashsports.com. Just check them out right now. Tired of being the commish of leagues, chasing people down with very little reward. It's just a thankless job. Well, no longer do you have to do that anymore. Go to splashsports.com/PHNX. Join in. We'll have those different contests coming out. So we're stoked to compete against all of you. Just make sure you go splashsports.com/PHNX. Get in right now, as we're just a couple days away from week 5 of the NFL season.
Love Splash Sports. Love our guy, Jordan Schultz, who's been, let's just call it, crushing. He broke the Taylor Swift news last week. He's been on top of everything, this Chase Claypool stuff. We put out an interesting tweet earlier.
What Swift news did he break?
He said Taylor Swift was going to be in attendance last week, and he was right. He had that before anybody.
Whoa.
He's big time. Jordan's big time. See if we can get back on the show during the season, during the off season. But Jordan put out a tweet today. I thought it was interesting. He says, quote, "The Panthers are not only looking to trade for a wide receiver, but they want a number 1 caliber guy. That's their top priority right now. Panthers are a dumpster fire. The Bears have their number 1 pick. Bryce Young doesn't look very good, but he says they're all in on Bryce Young, and they want to support him with playmakers." And so the reason I bring up Chase Claypool is, well, what team took advantage of the Chicago Bears last year? It was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they got a premium pick for Chase Claypool, and that's been another disaster. So I got a DM. Let me make sure I'm calling this individual out by name, because they posed this to me. Immortan Jake, who super friendly guy on Twitter, said, "Do you think the Cardinals would consider Hollywood Brown to the Carolina Panthers contract year? What would the compensation need to look like?" And on initial thought, I'm like, well, no, he's playing well for them. But then I'm like, but he's a free agent at the end of the year. Could they do better than a proposed comp pick if they don't choose to resign him? So with all that information, Bo Brock, Hollywood Brown to the Carolina Panthers via a trade, you buying or selling that?
I'm selling that. I don't think that at this stage, with them playing games, that they're going to sell off really any pieces that are integral to what they're trying to do week in and week out. And Hollywood Brown is a big piece of the offense. Jonathan Gannon likes what he's able to do, the speed element, the mismatches he can create. Like, I understand it. Like, if we're sitting here and we're talking about this in July, in August, I'm probably going in the other direction. But now that they're playing well offensively, I just think that would be that would just kind of put this offense back on its heels a little bit, and I don't want to see that. Yeah. I would rather see them have especially a phase of this team that is rolling pretty well. Absolutely, Jalen. It just that's where it becomes pretty egregious that they're just selling all parts for any price. And I mean, the only way I do it, and I just don't think Carolina matches up very well with the Arizona Cardinals now with what they've already traded away in future draft capital.
That's true. Yeah. Do they even have picks to give away? Or are they trying to package players, right? They won't part with Brian Burns, but they do have Derek Brown at defensive tackle. That'd be interesting. Topic 64, $1.99 super chat. So disappointed I was there. So disappointed. I'm not sure, Topic 64, what that's in reference to. You have to let us know. Clarify without a super chat in the chat what you're talking about. DD, $4.99 super sticker. Thank you so much, DD, friend of the program. I'm with you. I wouldn't trade Hollywood either, because I think this team's got some mojo going, and I think that's to the service of the team. Steph saying trade Hollywood and play Dortch. I think you can play both of them, frankly. And this team right now, there is a significant drop off after Michael Wilson and Hollywood Brown. Like, it's crazy. Those two guys are on pace, Bo, for 1,000 yards this year, and then like the next closest guy, of course, is like Zach Ertz, which how we feel about that. So I think there are some snaps and some targets to be had for other wide receivers in this offense. But Hollywood Brown, to me, like I'm at the point now where like contract makes sense. Like, I'm not opposed to bringing him back next year.
Don't you think, kind of backtracking a little bit, don't you think Carolina is just trying to conjure up any kind of like support for Bryce Young at the quarterback position?
What would have been good for Bryce Young's development is if they didn't hire Frank Wright as his head coach. I think that would have been
like,
really
we're going to go out there and we're going to try our best. Like, nothing like legitimate. Like, we're going to go try and get him a legitimate wide receiver. It's like, well, you haven't done anything to prop him up to this point. Like, they're just grasping at this point.
Miles Sanders at running back doesn't do it for you. Maybe a little DJ Shark baby at wide receiver. Yeah, man, they're a dumpster fire. Like, let's be real. Can we be real about the Carolina Panthers?
Yes.
Like, right now, they picked the wrong quarterback. The other two quarterbacks are better, and they probably see that. And there's still plenty of time for Bryce Young. But, like, CJ Stroud is on a historic pace, much to the chagrin of us and Cardinal fandom, but it's call a spade. Like, who's playing wide out for the Houston Texans? Like, I think those guys are good, but Stroud's unbelievable. Like, Bryce Young, elevate your players. Kyler Murray as a rookie played with Farrell fucking Cooper and looked awesome.
What a trash bag organization. Seriously. Like, they're winless. They don't have a first round pick, and like we're on the buyers for a top wide receiver. It's like, no, get out. No, you're not.
All right, I'll tell you their draft picks. Okay, here's what they've got. 2024 draft picks for the Carolina Panthers. Just a big bucket of nothing. Hang on. This website's not loading. Give me a second. This is not good podcasting. They do, I think, bank account. They do have a second. They've got a second, which is projected.
Me at a car dealership in college. They're like, what can you put down for this vehicle, sir?
Yeah. Can your parents sign on this loan for you, Carolina Panthers? Can we get another NFC South team to kick in on this? Right now they've got a 2 and a 3. So they have more than I thought. I think the Bears got maybe their second.
And look, if we're talking, 2 is tantalizing. 2 is so tantalizing. And realistic, I don't think anybody, for Hollywood Brown and contract year is throwing that around. The Bears set a bad example for the league last year.
They're big time dummies. That was one of the worst trades. Everybody knew that was a bad trade too.
Yeah. And please don't nobody ask me about Chase Claypool. Don't ask me. No.
What about Cardinals picking him up?
Yeah.
No, people ask you about that?
I thought I saw it in the chat. I don't know if they're
in the chat that asked
about it. Come on, guys. We're better than that. We had Chase Claypool on the team last year. His name was Chosen Anderson. How'd that work out? We're not trying to live that life again. We're trying to get Greg Dortch more
Robbie
targets.
Chosen now, isn't it?
Yeah, Robbie Chosen. I have a new name too. I'm Johnny Chosen. Wilbur Venerable Chosen. Love it. Listen, at the end of the day, Cardinals have a lot of needs. Like, wideout right now is not a need. Like, they're throwing to the receivers. They're making plays. I mean, if is this a disgruntled defensive tackle that wants out of town? I think you have a conversation. But man, I would not trade Hollywood either. I think he's done a nice job.
Yeah, he has. He's done a really nice job. He led them in receiving yards last week. He's making big plays. Talk about splash plays on third down, 7 catches on third down to move the chains. He's in the top 10 in the league. That's unbelievable. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see from your top wide receiver. So, I'll take what Hollywood Brown is doing and how he can kind of settle down whoever's at quarterback. I mean, he's going to be somebody that's going to be a nice little outlet for Kyler Murray when he eventually returns to the playing field.
It's interesting. This team right now, this weekend, is the first time of the season where I'm going to be legitimately gutted if they don't beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, disappointed against the Giants, yes. Disappointed against Washington, yes. And obviously San Francisco. They should beat the Cincinnati Bengals, yes or no, this weekend, Bo Brock.
They should. I mean, you can't let this offense get right, and they've been atrocious. They're there with the Josh Rosen, Sam Bradford-led Arizona Cardinals through 4 weeks of play. As far as what they've produced offensively, they have 42 points on the season. 42 points they've scored on the season.
So they're averaging about 12 points per game, 11 points per game.
Like, if you look at them in every major statistical offensive category, they're 31, they're 32. They're 31, they're 32.
Cardinals.
With that personnel too. I mean, when you look at the Cardinals offense, From 2018, they ran out Sam Bradford. They weren't running out the highest paid. Now, Sam Bradford might have stolen $275 million from NFL organizations throughout his bank robbery career. But
yeah,
Joe Burrow inked the $275 million deal, and he hasn't been right, sure. But I mean, in Jamar Chase, the Cardinals had a 35-year-old Larry Fitzgerald on that team, I think, at that point. But look, you can't protect your quarterback who can't move. It's just a bad combination.
Burrow's already set to play. They're going to miss T. Higgins. He's got a broken rib. They've allowed 12 sacks this year, so 3 per game. As you mentioned, they're last in the NFL in total offense, 12 points per game. Burrow's 57 completion percentage. That's last in the NFL. You got to feel good about that. Topic 64. Another super chat, so kind. $9.99. I was at the San Fran game on Sunday. Hell yeah, Topic 64. Very disappointed. I wanted more from our two best defensive players because I know they are better than how they looked. Jalen Thompson and Kayvon Wallace. To their defense, Topic 64, they can't play defensive tackle. And to beat the Niners with what we saw going on, like, I think it's the DBs. While, Marco Wilson didn't play well, I thought Keitrell Clark played well. Like, they couldn't stop Christian McCaffrey. They need a Darnell Dockett, Calais Campbell rejuvenation on that D-line to be able to hang with San Francisco right now. I'm being serious. Like, we gotta go into this offseason, this draft season, and find multiple big ass kickers that are 300 plus pounds that can set the tone defensively, like the offense is doing. Like Yelda Froholt, go find the version of Yelda Froholt on the defensive line, and then use a first round pick a la Paris Johnson on the defensive line. Like that's what it needs. They flipped this offensive line in one offseason, and knock on wood, it's the best position group on the team. They can do something similar with the defensive line.
Yeah. We talked about it yesterday. I mean, that's something that you could quickly bolster just by a couple moves in free agency and through the draft. I mean, it's a group that looks completely different. And I think that they've shown an ability to find some kind of under and overlooked just players at that position that they feel comfortable playing a role in a rotation.
Absolutely.
Gut meter. That's right. Turn that gut meter all the way up.
We got a loaded rest of the week coverage. We're going to be previewing the Bengals game beginning tomorrow. We got our Friday preview show. We got so much good stuff. You're going to hear from your boy JG tomorrow for these big, exciting roster moves that are coming, Bo Brock?
Well, I will say this because I guess there was some sort of controversy with the Nolan Cooney thing. Nolan Cooney was just not a good punter. I don't care what metrics you're looking at. He had 2 punts within the 20-yard line, and those came in week 1. So he hasn't had a ball that's been penned inside the 20 since the season opener. And then he had a 20-yard punt that I think Johnny could, no stretching, could get out of his office chair right now and beat by at least a couple inches or maybe even a full yard as far as the 20-yard.
How my lower body is basically useless at this point, but I will try.
It's like atrophied just from sitting in an office chair. Oh, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. So, and you look at the guy who they brought in statistically last year. I mean, they all best what you're getting from Cooney. So you're getting, even if it's a minor upgrade at the punting position, the biggest key now, and Howard Balzer always likes to point this out, and he will continue to do so, is the holding duties of the punter. And we've seen Matt Prater sometimes when there's a little switch up from his usual. You hope it doesn't impact the kicking game. Cardinals are at home. There shouldn't be much. You're not dealing with the elements. Should be a good time. And he's an experienced punter and holder. So there you go. But 2 roster spots to be filled, 4 guys eligible. Thinking Majay, thinking Dennis Daly potentially and make their way back onto this roster as early as tomorrow.
I'd be shocked if Majay Sanders isn't back tomorrow.
Yeah. That's a deep rotation, though. We already talked about that today. I mean,
get his ass out there. I mean, just start throwing people at Joe Burrow. Throw everybody at Joe Burrow. Make him as uncomfortable as possible. Force some turnovers. You'll be in good shape. But I think Garrett Williams, Kyler Murray, we waiting another week, you think?
Yeah, probably.
It's probably, I mean, especially with Kyler, but I think for those of us that thought Garrett Williams, I think we'll put a pin on that until next week. I want to remind everybody, subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. We've got Diamondbacks post-game coming up here. In the meantime, like and subscribe to the PHNX Cardinals podcast. We had a banner month in the month of September. Thanks to all of you. And we're only up and away with our Cards coverage, which is capped off this weekend with my guy BG, Britton Golden, Bo Brock live at State Farm Stadium. So hopefully the Cardinals can get this dub in Cincinnati. I'll rush Joe Burrow. I'll get out there, rush Joe Burrow, break every bone in my body.
No, we want to keep this offense playing poorly, Johnny. We don't need you out there just getting a hat on a hat, getting blown off the line of scrimmage.
Who's that small teenage boy on the field? Just getting washed in the run game. When does Buddha come back? According to Junior, he's eligible after the Seahawk game or maybe the week of the Seahawk game. I think
come back to the Seattle game. Yeah. So he's got 2 more weeks where he's got to remain on IR, and then he'll be eligible after the Monday after the Rams game.
Excellent. Well, I mean, there could be some reinforcements on the way for a team that's already ahead of schedule. Again, +3 right now. Hope you got it at +5 with our friends at BetMGM. Hope you subscribe to this podcast. He's Bo Brock. I'm Johnny Venerable. We, of course, want to thank our guy,
King, Johnny Venerable.
this sack attack, baby. I've been working on my technique with our guy, Brian Baldinger, because I believe he was an offensive lineman. But Jordan P., I'd pay to see Johnny versus Trent Williams in the run game. Well, I'd be dead, so you'd be paying for flowers at my funeral.
I'd pay to see you against like Jackson Barton, a practice squad offensive tackle for the Arizona Cardinals.
I think I would almost rather go up against an offensive lineman and try to rush the passer than have to cover a wideout. I think if I had to run and try to cover somebody, like legitimately, I would need surgery afterward. I'm not even kidding. Like, I can be thrown around. You can throw me. I'm pretty compact and be okay.
Yeah.
Try to land on my shoulder or something. If I had to turn and move and pivot right now at 35 years old, I would be so dead. Like, if I had to cover Hollywood for 5 seconds, it would be tough.
Wasn't it like Kevin Hart? He raced a former NFL running back, and I think he tore like multiple muscles just running for 40. This was recently. It was like it was the old it was Stephen Ridley or somebody like that. Somebody who's been out of the league for a long time, and Kevin Hart was trying to keep up with him. He tore like every muscle in his hand, like his hamstring, his quad.
Like I'll separate my shoulder. You can throw me around. I'll get a concussion in my head. I don't want a 9-month recovery for a torn ACL. I don't want my knee blown out. Yeah, that's pros versus Joes. We screwed her out of the combine with that last year. It was fun.
Look, I've been saying this because we walk by it, and obviously Nolan Cooney is no longer with the Arizona Cardinals, but I would bet that there's not a member on this set right now that can field a punt like Greg Dortch does.
Oh no.
There's no way. How many punts do you think it would take for you to field one successfully?
Like, oh man, probably like to
with
catch
NFL
it in the
gunners
air.
running at you?
What's that? No, you're just open field, just you in an open field.
I think I get it within 10.
I was gonna say 20. It would take me about 20 attempts.
And no pads, so you can't just like use your body. So you have to wear it. Like, you probably break your sternum, or at least have a couple.
I would probably, my face would start bleeding. It would hit me in the face a couple times. I didn't have great hands as a high school player, but
what?
I mean, legitimately, I would say probably about 20. It would take me about 20 attempps, maybe.
We'll have to see if we can get that.
No, I don't want to do that. The things you're talking about, I have no interest in doing. I don't want to do this in Indianapolis. I don't want to listen. I'm safe here in my little studio, and I don't want to be thrown around by grown adult men who play professional football. Yeah, times are tough, but we persevere. And we really appreciate if everybody liked this video. By the way, it helps exponentially moving it around the YouTube, Twitter sphere. I am not a better NFL player than Zach Ertz. I can drop a ball though. If the Cardinals need me to drop a ball in the end zone, I can do that.
Shot. That's a cheap shot here at the end of the show here, Johnny. It's a cheap shot.
You're making $11 million. I'm not making $11 million. Catch it. Like it. Subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.